I want to know if you got your popcorn ready. Do you got your popcorn ready?
All day, every day.
Good morning, my neighbors!
That's why these two guys here, these are the men I want as my friends. They're the new blood.
Well, I guess we're going to have one of probably the saddest or the most angriest podcasts probably we have ever done here at the Detroit Sports Podcast. I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you for downloading another episode. We greatly appreciate the support. This is the Detroit Sports Podcast, the DocNJock Sports Show. Joining me is my co-host, Adam the Jock Strozinski.
I have an issue with my penis.
I am the Doc, John Macaroon, and obviously we got a lot to get to this week, post-mortem. All week long, all I've been hearing is, everybody hurts, all on all the sports radio stations. Everybody's pissed, everybody's sad. Obviously regarding the Tigers' early exit, the Lions' disastrous play on Sunday versus the Bills. Michigan took another dive, another step towards immortality in terms of ineptness with their loss at Rutgers, giving them their first Big Ten win ever. And we have to dissect it. We got to get through it all. And this one's going to be a tough one. So before we started, I got a bowl of popcorn, down to Sprite. I'm feeling good. So the Doc is ready to go. Jock, my friend, what's happening? What's up, cuz?
This has been quite a depressing weekend. It's not been good. Let's kind of talk about these issues here. You're the psychologist, so help us all out and get us through this.
See, I'm sitting here with a smile on my face, knowing that we have a lot to get to and we have a lot of stuff to talk about that's going to be tough. But let's look at it this way. We have an avenue to vent our frustrations. On Sunday, I could not have been more upset with the Lions. Not because they lost, but because of the fact that Jim Schwartz was carried off of the field. So that obviously upset me. You had the Tigers basically, whenever they should have made a move, made the wrong choice. And so whenever you think you're supposed to go right, they made a left. Whenever you thought they're supposed to make a left, they made a right. Coupled with the fact that every move that Buck Showalter made turned to gold. And so let's just jump right in. Let's just talk about the Tigers. From one podcast to the next, that's the Tiger season's over. Episode 60.
That's all it took. 1 week.
It took 1 week, 3 games, and nobody expected that the Tigers would be swept. How tough and challenging is it for us knowing that the Baltimore Orioles defeated Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, David Price, back to back to back. And there were so many issues with each game that it's just tough to know where to start. But obviously, when we analyzed the series, we really underplayed the Buck Showalter versus Brad Ausmus matchup. Buck Showalter has a lot more experience than Ausmus, and the moves that he made turned out to be much more effective than the moves that Ausmus made. Just look starting at game 1. Andrew Miller, all season long, has never been brought in before the 7th inning. They got a lead. Boom. He's in there in the 6th inning and gives them great innings. Comes in, shuts us down. Whereas Brad Ausmus, he brings in Jabba and Soria. The gas can was lit. Gave up a ton of runs. So then the next day, Brad Ausmus decided, okay, I seen what I seen in game 1. Decided to use Jabba and Soria again.
They are flaming shit.
Which really, I think, pissed off everybody because you had just watched the last outing. And you decided to put them in there? It made no sense. When you could have used 2 other relievers, you could have used Al, you could have continued to keep Sanchez after he was dealing. I mean, it just was really one insult after the next when Anibal Sanchez comes in game 2, gives you 2 great innings, and you don't go back to them and they lose the game, blowing a lead. We all kind of had a feeling there was going to be one game that the bullpen was going to blow it, but game 2 was not the game when you had a 6-3 lead. And everything just kind of bad timing. In game 1, Torrey Hunter hits into a double play, and the next batter, Miguel Cabrera, hits a home run. Are you serious? And then in game 2, Dave Clark sends Miguel home in the 8th inning. We're up 6-3. That's the first out, and we end up losing. And then when the Tigers return home, it was like a morgue. I thought it was going to be more excitement. I thought the fans would kind of energize the team. The Tigers come home, and they played just like the atmosphere at Comerica Park. It was dead. There was no life in that ballpark until the 9th inning, and it was basically too late. And so I just think that the season came to an abrupt end. What's sad is way back in March and April, you and I had kind of already said, Ausmus being a first-year manager, taking the keys to this team may not be the right thing. And in the end, two schmucks like us knew more than the general manager of the Detroit Tigers, and that's just really upsetting.
Yeah, that was probably my biggest issue with everything that took place in this 3-game stretch. It was just the moves of Brad Ausmus. I really felt like he was treating these playoff games like they were regular season games. Whereas you got to sit there and you got to build confidence with your bullpen, with your rotation, and you have to make certain moves where it instills confidence in these guys. When you get to the playoffs, it's a totally different ballgame. You got to go with a short leash. You got to be like Sparky. You got to be Captain Hook. You can't leave guys out there on the mound just to kind of flail away and just set themselves on fire. And then in a case like Anibal Sanchez, when the guy is dealing and he has a hot hand, why do you pull him? Stick with him. Let him do what he has to do. Instead, you had Brad Ausmus make moves with the lineup, with the batting order, and either pull guys out a little early, so then he's pigeonholed to have rookies basically taking important at-bats, or he sat there and he pulled guys way too early or left guys out there way too long. And it just really, you've seen the flaws of this team. This whole postseason was just basically a microcosm of what happened this entire season, where Ausmus would either overmanage or undermanage. He would make questionable moves, and they came back to bite them in the butt. And this bullpen didn't help him out. I think he was relying on them to come in and basically give him some innings, give him the boost that starting pitching might have needed. If they go out in the 5th, 6th inning, I think he was really leaning on those guys. But you knew what you had. You've seen it for 162 games. You knew it couldn't be trusted. It was like that poison pill. You take it, you're probably going to die. And that's exactly what happened with these Tigers. They took that poison pill and they died.
So, Cuz, what was your biggest concern or issue with the 3-game sweep that we just witnessed?
It was Ausmus. It was the moves that Ausmus made, and it was the lack of the moves that Ausmus made. I understand that he's a rookie manager, and I understand he coming into taking over this team that was laced with veterans. His only managerial experience was basically 3 games with Team Israel, which kind of floors me because you've got managers out there who are probably overqualified for this, and you're going to give it to probably the most underqualified guy. And you've seen what he brought to the table, because I really feel like his managing and his managerial experience really let this team down when they needed him. And he just didn't step up to the plate, and he didn't pull the trigger when he needed to pull the trigger, or he didn't leave his finger off the trigger when he shouldn't have pulled the trigger.
And you know what's tough, though? The pieces that he relied on were guys that he trusted, like Jabba Chamberlain, who had a good first half, but that was really smoke and mirrors. In terms of what we saw the second half and going into the playoffs, wasn't good. You had Joakim Soria, who we all thought was a great addition, who just really stunk. He just never looked comfortable.
Just never panned out.
You know what? He could have been still dealing with the effects of the injury, and we're never probably going to know that. But he relied on the guys that were put there in his place. You kind of look at it, Showalter's going to put in Miller and a great bullpen. And so I think that if the roles were reversed, I think you probably would have got the same result. Maybe. You don't know, but I think it's an interesting thought is that if Ausmus was managing the Orioles, would they have swept? You never know. But the talent difference was undeniable.
And then at the end, you're leaning on a guy like Suarez and
exactly.
Carrera to sit there and basically get you a hit and get some runs in. And what are you doing there? You can't lean on those guys. You can't put them in that spot. That's unfair to them. You as the manager have to know what you've got in your dugout. You can't sit there and you can't put these players in a position like that. They've never been there before. They don't know what this is like. How are you going to put them? How are you going to lean your entire season on these guys? These players who are basically 1 or 2 years seasoned, and for the most part, let's be honest, for the most part, they're AAA players. How are you going to lean on them? How are you going to make them make that at bat? That's just bad managing.
No, I think that's bad general managing, in my opinion. I think that the options that Ausmus had were kind of limited. I mean, okay, so let's say you take out Hernan Perez and Eugenio Suarez. The odds-on favorite for the two that should have been brought in are McCann and Tyler Collins or Steven Moya, who have strong bats. But McCann and Collins are left-handed bats. And so I think the matchup problem was Ausmus is looking like the two strongest bullpen relievers for the Orioles are left-handed. So that puts a tough matchup on two rookies. So he went with guys that he thought could handle the situation in terms of the bench in Suarez and Perez. And how fitting is it that in Game 3, an elimination game, 2-1 in the ninth, your two best players, Victor Martinez and JD Martinez, keep you alive. You're potentially going to pinch hit Hernan Perez and Eugenio Suarez. And right away, Perez hits into that double play, and you're just like, are you kidding me? That's the guy that is called upon in a season when you spent so much money, in a season when you are trying to get to the World Series? Hernan Perez? That is utterly an epic fail, and that goes right to the top, and it goes to Dave Dombrowski. I think that the moves made this season did not pan out, and what's ultimately the beginning of the disaster, what caused the crack in the foundation, was the Fister trade. We've seen it. He pitched great, 7 shutout innings. Washington was still alive at the time when they played the Giants. Fister's great outing, combined with the fact that none of our starters got wins, is just so disgusting now as we sit back and look at it, because you got nobody, not one player of impact for a guy who's a top 15 pitcher, a top 15 starting pitcher. You got nobody that helped this team out in a season when we really should have competed. And so now the questions we have to start asking is, where does this team go from here? Because next season, this team is not going to look the same. You got 7 free agents. The free agents for the Tigers this year are Max Scherzer, Torrey Hunter, Jabba Chamberlain, Victor Martinez, Jim Johnson, Joel Hanrahan, and Phil Koch. And so my initial thoughts are Max Scherzer is going to be gone. Torrey Hunter is probably likely to retire. Jabba should be gone. Victor potentially is going to get a good 4 or 5 year offer from some other team.
He might end up in Chicago playing with the White Sox. How potent of a lineup do you think the White Sox will now have? With Abreu and Martinez? You know, they've got a lot of young talent over there in Chicago. So at that point, now you've got Kansas City, who looks like they might be on the verge of a World Series. All right, so now you've got Kansas City, who now takes over this division, followed by Chicago. So now Detroit is somewhere in third in this division, not counting if Minnesota goes out and makes moves.
Yeah, and so guys,
everything is flipped now.
And so how sick is that? Is that the likely candidate to be brought back is Phil Koch from that list. We have got to try to do whatever we can to keep V-Mart. It's just tough because he's going to want years. Money may be something flexible, but he's going to want 4 and 5 years to go until his 40s. And I don't think the Tigers are right now, with the way the contracts are laid out, going to be willing to give him a 4 or 5 year deal.
How about this for a little bit more salt in the wound? All right, you talked about the Fister trade. If you would have kept Fister, you'd had him under control for a couple more years. So if a guy like Max Scherzer does go away, because you're not going to be able to afford to pay him. Let's just be real about it. I know he says he wants to come back, but they offered him a very nice deal and he said no because he wants more money. So you're not going to be able to offer him any more money. You're just not going to do it. All right, you've already got a $30 million player in Cabrera. You got a $20 million or $28 million player in Verlander. You've got a $16 to $18 million player in Anibal Sanchez. You don't have the money. It's not like the shit grows on trees. So you're not going to be able to bring back Max and give Max what he wants, because you know he's going to want anywhere from $27 to $29 million. And that's what he's looking for, and he's looking for a long-term contract. So you're not going to be able to bring him back. How nice of it would have been to have a guy like Doug Fister to lean on. You know, you had had control over him where you could sit there and you just kind of keep extending him the same way you're doing with Porcello, where you go to arbitration and you just offer him basically a fair market contract that an arbitrator agrees on. And that way you now have your starting pitching's basically rounded out. You'd go David Price, probably Verlander, then you'd probably go Fister, and you'd go Porcello. It would be solid. It would work its way out. You'd have Sanchez in there. It would work its way out. It wouldn't be a big deal. But now you've made it really bad on this team. This team is now in a rock and a hard place. And I really do feel like there's no place for them to go at this point. It's not like they're going to go up. You know, I really feel like they missed their opportunity here.
Yeah, and right now we're the team needs a bullpen, and so they're going to have to deconstruct this bullpen yet again. And do we have confidence that Dombrowski is going to pick the right guys? I mean, we're going to look at getting Andrew Miller, but
he's done a bad job addressing bullpen talent. I mean, let's call it what it is. He's done a really bad job plugging pieces into that bullpen. Everything that he's tried to do has come back and backfired. We both agreed that Soria was a great pickup. We thought that he was going to be a stud. We thought he would take over for Nathan. We all thought Nathan was a solid pickup as well. But Nathan flamed out. So then you try to pick up Soria, who at the time was the best relief pitcher in the game in 2014, halfway through the season. You bring him here, and he basically just soaks himself in kerosene, and it's a giant slow burn until the end of the season. Every time he addresses some type of a move for the bullpen, it comes back and bites this team in the butt. He does not know how to address bullpen talent. This team has to be tore down, and you have to sit there and you have to put a few pieces off to the side, and you've got to rebuild. No more of this rebuilding on the fly garbage. It's not working. Just kind of scrap the majority of this, and let's just kind of start new.
Let me ask you this. Do you think the Tigers have gone now a little bit too far towards the Yankees' philosophy?
Yes.
In terms of just buying talent and
Absolutely.
Not who has developed? We basically got a roster full of 4A players.
Exactly. But you know
who has developed?
This speaks to his drafting ability. He doesn't do a very good job of addressing talent when he drafts guys. He does a decent job of addressing starting pitching. He likes guys who throw hard. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a very good pitcher when you get here. However, in the minor leagues, because you throw hard, you can use those as tradable commodities because you say this guy can hit 101 and his strikeout to 9 ratio looks pretty decent for the minor leagues. So then you can sit there and move these guys around. But he doesn't cultivate talent, which is a giant issue here. He doesn't bring anybody here and basically help raise them up. He doesn't sit there. We don't have any homegrown talent. You want to point to Nick Castellanos? That's who you want to point to? That's the one guy that we have that you can say we've had for the last 10 or 12 years. You know, Justin Verlander came here. They brought Verlander in, and basically he got express tracked right to the majors. Same thing with Porcello. None of these guys really developed in our minor league system. They were basically brought here, thrown right to the fire, feet to the flames, and basically here, figure it out. That might be part of the reason why Verlander has struggled this year. He has so many pitches on that arm, and he never was able to really develop extra pitches. All he really had was that fastball, and then he worked on that curve, and he had a changeup. Same thing with Porcello. Porcello basically worked on what he had a slider, and he had an off-speed pitch, and that was all he had. He's over the course of his career, he has been forced to develop more pitches, but none of these guys were able to actually work on these things and develop the proper mechanics. They were basically brought in and moved right up to the major leagues.
Let's just put it in context in terms of what we're seeing around Major League Baseball. Our nearest competitor, the Kansas City Royals, have advanced and have a strong chance of advancing to the World Series. And if they win it, that's just going to be a big slap in the face. But let's just look at it like this. 6 months since we acquired Robbie Ray and Ian Kroll, the Kansas City Royals drafted with the 17th pick overall, Brandon Finnegan. Already this season has been used in the postseason. He has already earned a victory against the LA Angels. A guy that was drafted 6 months after we acquired guys from the Fisher trade, he's already impacting the Royals. And he's already a more productive person in the bullpen than any of the guys that you rolled out there. That's just a perfect example.
He does a bad job of addressing talent.
Dave Dombrowski this season really took a step back, and unfortunately right now, we have to ask ourselves, is this window closed? Does this Tiger team have a chance to win the World Series? And if you look at it objectively, if you're not being a Homer fan and just saying, yeah, we got Verlander, we got Price, we got Sanchez, Porcello. If you look at it objectively, I think the window is 99% shut. I mean, basically, we're just waiting to close the deadbolt.
Oh, dude, I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to say that thing has been sealed shut, nailed shut. They're not prying it open. It's just the time has passed. I think at this point, Tiger fans have to kind of look at this team objectively, and you got to get your white flag out and you got to wave it. And you got to say, it was a nice run. Those 4 AL Central championships, great.
We own the Central, baby.
Oh, yeah. The fact that you were able to sit there and you were to get to a couple World Series, you made noise in the playoffs, that was great. I think this run has had it. I think it's at its end. At this point, you now have to look at tearing this team down a little bit, and you need to rebuild it. You got pieces to go forward. You got a guy like Miguel Cabrera. You're not going to get rid of him. I think you offer J.D. Martinez a reasonable contract. You don't sit there, you don't give him 5 years. I'd say you give him a 2-year deal, say, hey, here, Prove this to me over the course of the next 2 years. Show me that you're not a flash in the pan. Show me that you actually are this 318 hitter who can hit with power and drive in a bunch of runs for us. Show me that. You got a guy like Verlander. You're stuck with Verlander. I would love to get rid of that contract, but you're stuck with Verlander. You got Price for another year. You got young pitching talent like Porcello, who basically shined this year. You got Anibal Sanchez, who arguably at times this season was the best pitcher on this staff. And probably in this postseason, he was the best guy we had. He looked the most consistent. Granted, he didn't pitch a whole lot. He looked the most consistent. So you have pieces. You need to go out. You need to address this outfield. You need to address parts of this infield. And you need to go out and you need to address this bullpen. That is the number one concern. Address this bullpen. I don't think you're going to get rid of a guy like Ausmus. I know everybody wants to get rid of him and get Ron Gardenhire in here. Yeah, that would be great. That would be outstanding.
Not happening.
It's not going to happen. You can't do that. You basically gave this guy a vote of confidence last year by saying, here, take over this team that is primed to win a World Series. You basically seen his warts in the postseason. He basically pulled his pants down and you seen all of his warts. You're like, ooh, that's kind of gross. And that's what happened. Now, if he can learn from this and come back and be a better manager next year, even better. But you have to address the holes on this team, and you have to properly address them. You can't just keep going out and plugging players in that you just kind of find or that you trade away everything that you got in your minor league system. Because now we have nothing. All we do is we just keep overpaying for guys. You keep overpaying for veterans who are on the downside of their career. Look at Joe Nathan, prime example. You paid him $10 million. He's here for another year.
You could have got Nelson Cruz for 8.
My point. And that was the guy that we both were pining for. We wanted Nelson Cruz. And who killed us in the playoffs? Nelson Cruz.
Yet again.
Could you imagine this part of the lineup? If you were to go Miguel Cabrera, you were to go Victor Martinez, Nelson Cruz, JD Martinez, could you imagine what that would do? And you got Ian Kinsler batting right in front of Miggy? It just blow your mind.
What would have happened was Nelson Cruz would have came up here and stunk, and then Delman Young would have got the home runs.
You're probably right. It's just the way it works.
That's the way it's been, right? That's just the way it's been. And so now this offseason and the next coming season, I don't want to have Dave Dombrowski's job, because the number one thing I think he's got to do is he's got to decide one piece that he's got to let go of, whether it be Justin, whether it be Miguel Cabrera, whether it be JD Martinez. You might have to sell one of these players and get a couple more players, because it's like the Red Wings situation. We want the free agents, but you don't think other teams are going to be clamoring for Andrew Miller and other teams are going to be looking to upgrade their bullpen? There's no guarantee that he's going to be successful at it. And so I think that one of the players that's been on this roster that's helped us win has to be moved, because how else are you going to acquire great players? You're going to have to be sly and be creative and retooling this roster. And I don't know if Dave Dombrowski is going to be able to do it. And so I would be willing to take one step back, maybe not make the playoffs, maybe another first-round exit. I'd be willing to take a step back if we got better at the key positions in terms of center field, in terms of now catcher with Alex Avila with his concussion issues, because he's really one foul ball away from maybe a career-ending situation. So you're going to have to now look at catcher. You're going to have to look at now who's going to be the fifth starter, and you're going to have to look at the bullpen.
Isn't there a Molina we can go pick off a tree somewhere? I mean, I swear to God, dude, the Molina brothers and the Molina cousins, whatever they all are, it's like they grow on this tree down in Venezuela, and you can just sit there and you can go, anytime you need a catcher, just go find a Molina. Just pick one off a tree. It's like an apple. Just go grab him and plug him in, and those guys, for whatever reason, are outstanding catchers. And so, we just go grab a Molina somewhere.
And so right now, there's a lot of holes to fill, and I'm so curious to see where it starts. And the Tigers have been known to make splashes early in the offseason, so let's stay tuned. But this season has to be an F. This season, from start to finish, we won the Central, big whoop-de-doo. But from start to finish, in terms of after the 27-12 start, this season I graded an F.
I'm going to grade it an EF for epic fail. This season was an epic failure. It was World Series or bust, and you got knocked out in the first round. Epic failure. We have one World Series win since 1984. Epic failure.
All right, let's move on. Let's get the opinion of one of the writers from the Detroit Sports Nation. Brett D'Angelo will be joining us next. He'll give us his thoughts, recapping the Tigers season, where do they go from here, and he'll give us also his thoughts on the 2014 Red Wing season. Stay tuned. Brett D'Angelo from the Detroit Sports Nation is next.
I'm Megan McCormick out here in Fox Sports LA, and when I'm not sitting out in the sun, I'm listening to the Detroit Sports Podcast.
You got to check out their stuff. I mean, I'm really impressed by it. You guys have probably one of the better ones I've seen in the country.
Wow.
In a short period of time, you've done good work. Look at me kissing your hand.
I know.
All right, as advertised, joining us on the line, he's one of the writers for the Detroit Sports Nation. We're in collaboration with them, and we love chatting with the writers about all things Detroit sports. Joining me on the line, Brett D'Angelo. What's going on, Brett? How you doing tonight?
I'm pretty good. How about you, John?
Adam and I are still recovering a little bit from this awful weekend that just commenced. The Tigers, let's start there. The Tigers season has ended abruptly. We all thought that the talent on this team would overcome in the end. I think that Adam and I discussed it earlier. We underestimated Buck Showalter's managerial experience over Brad Ausmus, and it just kind of showed throughout the series. Just give us your reaction to what you saw and to the Tigers' abrupt end to the 2014 season.
Oh, it definitely came as a surprise to me. I originally predicted the Tigers in 4 games in the series just based off of their starting pitching depth, but like you said, Buck Showalter was able to use the managerial skills to just basically embarrass the Tigers. He exploited the weakness in the bullpen, and then it showed in game 3, where top of the 9th or bottom of the 9th, he put the winning run on base, and basically he trusted his team to get out of it, which he did because he was able to expose the weak bench of the Tigers. Basically just played to the weaknesses of the Tigers the entire series.
Yeah, Brett, it was really disappointing, and you really kind of seen really what we saw the whole season. The holes for the Tigers really came back to bite them in the ass. Obviously, at bullpen, we had the meltdown in Game 2, and what really has been a poignant moment is to close out the series in an important playoff matchup. You got Hernan Perez as a pinch hitter. Come on, man. And the Orioles are trotting out there. Delman Young getting key hits, really rubbing it in our face. It's just really devastating in terms of what Dave Dombrowski put on the field this year.
Oh, yeah, I was really surprised when I left Tyler Collins off the postseason roster, because that would have been, he's not the greatest hitter in the world, but he provided the big bat that you might need in a one-run game in the bottom of the 9th, exactly what they were in Game 3. And it showed that he should have been in there. They wasted a roster spot on Roger Davis because he was never even close to 100% healthy. So it was just poor performance all around from Ausmus and Dombrowski on picking that roster.
Really, one of the key talking points in Game 2 was Anibal Sanchez. He came out after injury, pitched 2 solid innings. Now, there's, kind of talk that maybe he kind of hinted that his arm was hurting after 30 pitches, but you got to ride him. He is potentially your best guy in the bullpen, and you obviously seen what happened in the 8th inning. We blew the lead. Do you think the Tigers should have kept Sanchez in the game and risk potential injury?
It would have kept him in before he got into some trouble. They said they were going to stick to a strict 30-pitch count, which is exactly what he ended up with, but you basically just see this down the line. When they pulled Sanchez, they basically gave up on the season, in my opinion. Because, they watched it all year. How can you trust that bullpen? Anybody else in there? The only one that actually was getting people out after the All-Star break was Albuquerque, and he never even threw a pitch. So they definitely should have went with Sanchez for another inning if they needed to, and they definitely needed them to.
Yeah, I just thought that when Brad trotted out Soria and Jabba Chamberlain in Game 2, I literally could have just threw everything at the TV. You saw what these guys did in Game 1. You could have used anybody else, and you wouldn't have taken as much flack as you are going to bring in Jabba Chamberlain and Joakim Soria the next day, right after they were torched in Game 1.
Jabba never even belonged in there in the first place. His ERA was north of 5 after the All-Star break. He just wasn't the same pitcher as he was in the first half, and definitely showed in both games 1 and 2.
That first half for Jabba Chamberlain was like smoke and mirrors, and it just stunk because Brad Ausmus put his faith in him, and I don't know, I just think that decision in and of itself is a fireable offense. I know they're not going to do it, but I just think that Brad Ausmus really shouldn't have been given the keys for this situation. This is a World Series team, and you can't really have a first-year manager taking over the reins, especially at this point in time. But I'm curious to get your opinion. Do you think going forward that this Detroit Tigers team as an organization, is the window closed? Do we still have a couple more runs in us, or is it time to maybe dissect this thing and start over?
They still have a rotation that's going to feature David Price, Justin Verlander, Anibal Sanchez, Rick Porcello, possibly Kyle Obstein or somebody else in the fifth spot. That's still one of the top rotations in baseball right there. You have the best hitter on the planet, Cabrera. It just depends on what Martinez wants to do if he wants to come back. And then you got to shore up the bullpen and maybe get a bat off the bench. But, this team still has a couple of runs left in them. maybe 2 to 3 years, I would say, but it all depends on what they want to do for the bullpen. That's the Achilles heel of this team.
Yeah, what they do in the bullpen and to shore up the bench, because Romine, Don Kelly, Perez, Suarez, those guys need a lot more seasoning, and you got to bring in some guys that have some experience and at the same time can have some impact on this squad, because, yeah, you can't be trotting out basically 4A players in key situations next season. If you're going to go for it, you're going to have to go for it and put pieces in place. Definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing what Dave Dombrowski does to try to retool this team, because, wow, what a disappointment. And it's just really unfortunate, because I think we had a chance this season to make a deep run, and it's just another wasted opportunity. But I'm curious to get your opinion as well. Overall, Brad Ausmus, year one, is now in the books. What was your assessment of Brad Ausmus? What were his strengths and some of his weaknesses that you can clearly point out?
I think as the season went on, it definitely showed that I think he was in over his head. I mean, he really wasn't good with managing pitchers. Earlier in the season, what I really liked that he was doing is that he made the team aggressive on the base path, and they played a lot of small ball. It seemed like they got away from it, though, as the season went on, and then their struggles had them relying on big hits at crucial times. After the season, he's all out of excuses. He's no longer a rookie manager, so he has to know what to do to manage this team now from now on. He just needs to get better with managing pitchers. That was the biggest weakness of his, I think.
Okay, and I hope so. I hope that he does progress. He does seem like the players do have respect for him, and they do play hard for him, and I think that's the first step. But his in-game managerial style has to improve significantly, and that's the biggest key, I think, is that if he improves his tactics and his use of the bullpen, then we got a chance to have a manager down the line. I'm not sure that this fan base is going to be as patient with him because of the talent, but it'll be interesting to see if he can survive the heat, definitely next season.
One more thing, it's also hard to assess how he actually does as a manager when you have a roster like he does. I mean, if you put him with a team like the Minnesota Twins, obviously he's not going to have as much success, but I'll be able to see actually what kind of a manager he really is when he doesn't have a star-studded lineup to throw out there every day.
Exactly. Yeah, he was given the keys to the Ferrari, and he did stall it out. But yeah, there are some more pieces that need to be put in place, and we'll see how he handles that in the future. But when this podcast airs, the Red Wings will be opening their season versus the Boston Bruins, and it's kind of interesting right now where the Wings are at. They're kind of like the gatekeeper. They're going to be consistent. They're likely to make the playoffs, but where I'm sitting in my chair, I just don't feel like they're anywhere near a Stanley Cup contender. And it's just kind of hard to get up year after year because we're spoiled. And right now, they've kind of taken a step back. I'm interested in your take regarding the Red Wings, and what do you expect to see this season?
I expect them to be a playoff team. I mean, you still have a core of Datsyuk and Zetterberg, Cromwell on defense, but there might be another first or second round exit. This team just doesn't have players to make a deep run, and it's all starting with the defense. Your best defensive guy is Nick Cromwell, which, I mean, he's a good defender, but you don't have another A-type player on your blue line like teams like Chicago and LA do. So it's going to be a struggle for them. I see them finishing maybe 6th in the conference, which would be an upgrade over last year, obviously, but they just need to do something to get better defenders out there. It showed in the offseason this year. It just seems like Detroit isn't an attractive location for free agents anymore, which is a shame, but that's when you got to start really relying on your player development down in the minors.
Now, obviously, the team to beat in the conference is the Boston Bruins. Do you think the Red Wings have addressed the issue of size? Because I think if they continue to play that European style of puck possession, you've seen what happened in the series last year. The Bruins just demolished them all over. They got to all the loose pucks, and they out-physicaled us. And so I think the thought in the organization was, yeah, we're going to slowly but surely work to build our size and things like that. Do you think we've done enough, and do you think that the Red Wings can at least be competitive with the Bruins this season in their matchups?
I really don't think they've done enough, but, I mean, they'll be competitive with them. I mean, even the series last year, it was a pretty competitive series, even though the Bruins won in 5. Games were tightly contested. Like you said, the Bruins were able to push them around, but the Red Wings still aren't there to where they'll be able to push right back with them. They're still relying on juice and speed right now, and then until Datsyuk and Zetterberg are gone, they'll continue the European style of hockey that they've been accustomed to for the past decade or so.
Okay, and then I'll leave you with this. Obviously, the big talking point around here is the play of goaltender Jimmy Howard. He is under fire here in Detroit quite often because he's a decent goalkeeper, but I just think his contract situation, he's being paid a little bit more than he's worth. And we haven't really advanced to the conference finals with him. And I just wish that Mrazek would have done enough in the preseason to earn the job, but he got sent down on Tuesday, and he got sent down to the minors. Your assessment of Jimmy Howard, and can he get to that next level?
If he had the defenders on him, he'd definitely be able to. It all starts with defense. He's facing so many shots a game, he's relied upon to make some amazing saves, which he does handle his own there, but he does need to be a stronger goaltender overall. If he plays like he did back in 2011, 2012 season, I believe it was, or maybe it was the one after that, he was phenomenal. He willed the Red Wings into the playoffs by himself that season. But basically, Mrazek is just sitting in the wings waiting for that opportunity to come up and be a starter, which if Howard doesn't get his act together this year, it probably will be next season that Mrazek's our starter. And we'll look to deal Howard for maybe a defender or some picks or something.
Brett D'Angelo has been kind enough to give us his time. You can find his work at the Detroit Sports Nation. You can find the website, DetroitSportsNation.com. He writes for the Tigers and Red Wings. The writers at the Nation have great stuff always. Definitely check them out. Brett, thanks for your time this evening. We look forward to chatting with you during the Red Wings season.
All right, thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Oh, I want to thank Brett. That was great. He gave us great insight, like all the writers do at the Detroit Sports Nation. Definitely check them out. You can find them on Facebook. They got a huge following. Just search Detroit Sports Nation. You can check out the articles at DetroitSportsNation.com. We're in collaboration with them, and it's always great to have a chance to speak with one of their writers. All right, cuz, are you ready for another great round of Jock Jams?
Let's do it, buddy.
All right, here we go. Let's continue the baseball talk. The ALCS starts this week. You have the Orioles, who just swept us, taking on the Kansas City Royals, who, in all honesty, once they won the wild card round, a lot of people were like, the winner of that game is going to have a chance to have some momentum and carry it through to the next round. And they did. They beat the Angels, and they're playing the Royals. Who do you see winning the AL pennant?
I really believe just the way that Kansas City's playing and kind of the way that they've stuck together all year, that looks like a team on the mission. I really think it's going to be Kansas City who's going to come out of it. I think that they've got, as long as the manager, as long as Ned Yost can stay out of the way, I think this team has what it takes, because I feel like it has insulated itself, and it's basically an us versus the world mentality. It's basically Kansas City and everybody in Kansas City and screw the rest of the world, and they're just kind of coming out with two middle fingers up. And I really do feel and I do believe that. I think Kansas City has a great shot to win this thing.
I kind of disagree. I think that Baltimore, coming off of a win like that, has all the momentum in the world. I mean, if you can beat 3 consecutive Cy Young winners and a team with the caliber of talent like the Tigers, I think that the Orioles are going to take it down in 7. I think their bullpen matches up a little bit better than Kansas City's. I think that it's going to come down to late innings, who's going to be more clutch, and I just think that the combination of Nelson Cruz and maybe, if Chris Davis returns in Game 6 or 7, could have an impact for them. And so I'm interested to see if the Orioles can ride the wave of momentum and go to the World Series. But I think they can, so it'll be interesting to see. All right, let's switch gears, cuz. The Red Wings start the season tonight versus Boston. Boston comes to town. They're coming here to the Joe Louis Arena, opening up the season, and the 2014-2015 season kicks off. Interesting in that the Red Wings and the Tigers are kind of in the same boat. Not really title contenders, but have a chance to do some damage should they get hot. What are your thoughts this season, and what have you seen so far in this preseason?
I think that the kids are going to be a little bit better this year. I think that they have another year underneath their belt, another year to mature. I don't like a lot of the moves that Ken Daniels did this offseason. I don't like a lot of the moves that Ken Holland made this offseason. I don't like necessarily the direction that this team is tracking. I don't like bringing back guys like Dan Cleary. I think that causes a logjam at the top when you have all this young talent who basically carried you to a playoff berth last year. Now you're just going to reinsert a guy who basically was a healthy scratch all last year, or he was partially injured the entire year. I don't understand it. I don't like it. However, I see this team very similar to last year, kind of scrapping it out and it coming down to that final week of the season. And they get into the playoffs, and yes, they carry on that tradition. If they get hot, because hockey's one of those games, if you get hot at just the right time, you can go and play for a Stanley Cup. I don't think they play for a Stanley Cup, but I think they do get by the first round, and I think they do get into the playoffs. And that's kind of how I see the season wrapping up.
And now finally, cuz, besides the embarrassment of losing to Buffalo and having Jim Schwartz carried off the field, the NFL is investigating the laser pointer. One of the fans in the stands at Ford Field decided that, you know what, I'm going to take one of those laser pointers that you point with a button and shine it at the Bills, at Dan Carpenter, who's kicking a field goal. And they're all like, and at Kyle Orton. You got a fan who's basically now being hunted by the NFL. And on Monday, talk came out on Twitter that, you know, maybe he tweeted out that it was him, and people screen grabbed it and had posted it all over Deadspin and things like that, and people are trying to find him and ban him. I'm just curious, what'd you think about the story that a fan here in Detroit would have the gall to wave a laser at a professional NFL player?
Didn't really bother me, but the fact that he possibly tweeted all this stuff out, that he was the one doing it and basically was thumping his chest, like, you're an idiot. Why would you do that? Don't you know you can be banned permanently from NFL games? And that's one of the best things we have going in this city, is that we are an NFL franchise. I mean, I know our team's not always that great. I mean, they look pretty solid this year thus far, and they blew a great game against Buffalo that we're going to get into here shortly. But why would you do that? Why would you go around thumping your chest about that? Just go hide. You don't tell like 3 of your friends and hope they don't tell anybody. That's all you got to do. You're an idiot. As far as the NFL goes, don't you have bigger fish to fry? Don't you have women beaters just running amok in your league? Don't you have guys who are high on all kinds of drugs? Don't you have kickers who basically run around with fits of Jack in their back pocket, getting loaded, and then you suspend them for 4 games, and then the Lions bring them in? And if I was the Lions, I'd just sit there and I'd set up a booze cafe right at the 50 and say, go to it, and sign them right there on the spot. But that's just me, I digress. You have other issues, man. What are you doing? You have much bigger fish to fry. Leave this guy alone. Yeah, he's a loser, and yeah, he's a little bit of a scoundrel. Who the hell cares? It's a laser pointer. Nobody got hurt. They hit a 58-yarder. Go do something.
The issue is this. If he did it once and nothing happened, then the likelihood of him doing it again is pretty great. And, you know, you have a lot of copycat people. I think this is an issue that is really kind of embarrassing to the Lions security, in that right now, because in my opinion, I've seen security been a little bit lax lately in terms of sporting events. I mean, I went to the Michigan soccer game. You just went right in. And I went to the Spartan homecoming game. You just kind of went right in. So at college games, the security has been lax. I haven't been to Ford Field in a minute. I know they do search you, but I think that if you can sneak in a laser pointer, what else can you sneak in? And you just can't have these kind of things going on at the NFL right now. And you just can't have that going on. And so hopefully they find him and they do ban him. But I'm sure he probably threw a couple down and was just like, hey, let me just wave this, because the game was so hideously boring. I'm sure he's trying to do something to get a laugh and to get himself entertained. But yeah, to brag about it is ridiculous. And the fact of the matter is he needs to be punished. And I just think that we need to move on from this and continue. The fans are really great for the most part, especially compared to the Silverdome era. There aren't as many fights at Ford Field as there were at the Pontiac Silverdome. And so the crowd environment is great. Going to a game at Ford Field is exciting, and you just can't have things that mar the experience. And the NFL has got to do something, especially in terms of competitiveness, because you are shining a light at a guy. From all accounts, from what I've heard, if you shine a laser in someone's eye, if you hit it the right spot, you could cause some severe damage.
I think that's an old wives' tale.
Is it really? I don't know.
I think so. I think so.
You don't believe it?
No. Look on Snoops.com.
All right, next episode, let's test it out. Let's test it out.
You want to shine it in my eye?
I'll
see if I go blind to one.
Let's see what happens.
I'll look like Stuart Scott. We'll get a glass eye. Anyways, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I really don't. I mean, maybe I'm the only one. I mean, the guy basically snuck something in. I wouldn't even go as far as saying snuck it in. It could have been one of those things that was on his keychain. You know, it's about the size of an ink pen. You know, they're not going to tell you to take an ink pen out of your pocket. I get what you're saying. It could cause some serious damage, or it might be distracting and competitive advantage, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I gotcha. But I don't really think it's that big of a deal. I think this guy's just an idiot. I really do believe he's just a moron.
All right.
So if you're listening, guy with the laser pointer, you're an idiot. Don't do it again. Bam, bitches.
The Jock always brings the noise. Another great round of Jock Jams just took place. Let's get into the Lions after the break and kind of dissect what the hell happened versus the Bills. Stay with us. Lions Talk after the break. thank you, everyone, for downloading another episode of the Detroit Sports Podcast. We appreciate everyone that downloads and tells a friend. We appreciate all our followers on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. We appreciate all the support, and we want to thank everyone that's been clicking through the banners at our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. If you visit DetroitSportsPodcast.com, you can find all things related to Detroit sports. You can get great deals on sports gear, memorabilia, tickets to all events at great prices. So don't hesitate. Check out our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. That's the best way to find out all information regarding what we do here and to help support us. Thank you, and we greatly appreciate it. All right, cuz the sorrow train started on Sunday when the Lions played the Bills. You thought the Lions would play similarly to how they did when they played the Giants when they opened the season. Roll up and down the field, play a great game offensively, show Jim Schwartz why they kicked him to the curb. Initially, it was good. We're up 14-0, and then the problem started. Calvin Johnson was out. The offense stagnated. We had some turnovers, and Buffalo creeped in. They hung around. They creeped in, and in the end, the Lions' cavalcade of mistakes this time around bit them in the ass royally. A kicker that you tried out, that you held a tryout for, that earned the job. He beat out other players, missed 3 field goals, and just drew the ire of the fans. 9 points left on the board is just something that is really difficult to overcome in the NFL. And it's just so difficult to sit here and talk about that basically the scrawniest, weakest player on the team, the kicker. Did you see that look Stafford gave Fennery when he missed that last one?
He was less than pleased.
He wanted to drop his ass. And you know what? He probably should have. Because how are you going to, as a kicker, miss 3 in a game? The Lions' kicking situation is abysmal. We've missed so many kicks week after week after week. And now the Lions are holding their second tryout.
Don't worry about it, bro. I'm telling you, it's all fixed. It is all fixed. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to give you the Jock's plan to fixing the Lions' kicking situation, all right? And this is it. And this is how you do it. You sit there, you roll out to the 50-yard line with a great bottle of scotch. Right behind that great bottle of scotch, you got a nice bottle of Uncle Jamie just hanging out, right? A little bit of Jameson, all right?
No, I appreciate it, but I told my wife I wouldn't drink tonight.
You set the tee up, and you get who is it, Martin out there so he can hold it, and you get Muehlbach out there so he can snap it. And then what you do is you bring one of the greatest kickers of all time, the all-time leader in Denver kicking history. You bring Matt Prater's drunk ass out, and you just let him blast it from beyond the 50. Because that dude's got a cannon for a leg. I don't care that this guy is hammered all the time. I don't care that he's been in and out of a rehabilitation program since 99.
I was asking why he got cut.
Yes.
He's a drunkard?
Yes.
Oh.
He's been in a rehabilitation program, I think since 2000, I want to say 6, maybe 2004. And he just got loaded, and then they called him in for a urine test, and basically he pissed out a bottle of booze. And they're like, yeah, you're going to go sit 4 games. So that's what happened. They got a kicker, the new kicker in Denver. They're like, we don't need you. So that's what happened. You bring this guy in. His 4-game suspension's up. I don't care that he's drunk all the time. It'll be okay. As long as he doesn't go around smacking his wife around, I can deal with just about everything else. As long as he doesn't hit somebody with a car, we'll be okay. So just sit there, load up a bar for him, set it near the 50, and that guy's going to win you some damn games because there's no reason they should have lost this game to Buffalo. Absolutely no reason. There were 9 points that were left out on that field. 9 points that were left on that field. They lost by 3. There is no reason. Their kicker kicked a 58-yarder. You couldn't hit a 41. What is going on? There's no reason whatsoever we should have lost to Buffalo. We should have a game and a half lead in our division right now. We should be up. Instead, we have a half a game, and we're basically tied record-wise with Green Bay. What's going on here? This team is not built well enough yet to where they can sit there and they can have games like this where they lose and they just basically give divisional leads away. You can't do it. You're not good enough yet. You need a kicker in here who can do something. I don't care that he likes to fucking drink the sauce. It's okay. Me and him go drink a couple beers. I'll cover him. I'll hide him. It's okay. As long as you don't fall in a picker bush like I did a few weeks ago, you'll be okay. I don't mind that you get loaded.
Okay, I'm gonna recall that you fell in a picker bush. That's interesting.
Oh yeah.
But here's the first part.
Hurt. My arm's just now healing.
The Lions defense is doing their job week in, week out, consistently. Where the hell is the offense? Where to go? They tallied 14 points and 263 total yards in the game.
They really only tallied 7 points. There was
I mean,
there was a touchdown.
I'm saying exactly. You have to score. The offense has to score. And if you look at the numbers, just basically, since 2012, the Lions are 0-12 when we don't tally 350 yards of offense. And since 2011, 0-17 when we don't score more than 20. 0-17. This is supposed to be the strength of the team. Offense, no problem. We got this. We roll up and down the field. You drafted a tight end 10th, and he's not on the field in the last drive? Not on the field. Not anywhere available for a deep pass, not available to get open, not on the field at all. And you ask Caldwell, where's Ebron? Well, we had other guys out there, and he's just not there yet. He's not there yet. It's the fifth week of the NFL, and you drafted him 10th. Where's Ebron? Where's the offense? The offense is so dependent on Calvin Johnson that if he's not there, it's done. I mean, we're really succumbing to a lot of injuries. The offensive line is playing like shit, and our offensive numbers are horrible. I mean, I
feel like this offense sometimes is almost like the offense underneath Rod Marinelli, where Calvin Johnson's your decoy. Calvin, just go deep. They'll draw two guys to you to open up somebody else. I really feel like at certain points, that's what this offense has become. And I think even Calvin is now getting frustrated. Now that he's a little bit older, he's basically been done the elite wide receiver of the NFL. He is now speaking out a little bit more, whereas when Rod Marinelli was here, he would just kind of was like, oh no, this is the game plan. I just go deep all the time.
Because what's challenging is you've put so much into the offense, and the offense isn't producing.
Yep.
7 points versus Buffalo. Okay, now my attitude is tempered in that Jim Schwartz knows this Lions team pretty much probably like the back of his hand. His motivation to beat the Lions was great. But where was our motivation to beat him? Where was our motivation to show that, hey, this is Detroit. We're not Buffalo. Jim Schwartz rolls his act all the way to Buffalo and puts together a game plan that's pretty much perfect. I mean, he blitzed when he needed to. He got to Matthew Stafford quite a bit, and he exposed Matthew Stafford. I mean, now the rest of the league can just see what Jim Schwartz did to neutralize the offense, and it's right there on tape. Get to Matthew Stafford, try to pressure that offensive line, and if you can take away Calvin Johnson, this team kind of becomes one-dimensional. You can let Golden Tate do his thing as long as you don't let him control the game. He'll get his touches, but in the red zone, the Lions have to be more efficient. You can't settle on field goals because you're not making them.
They got to convert third downs, too. They were 1 for 11 on third downs this past Sunday. You know what? I don't know exactly what the most frustrating issue is with this Lions offense. If you look at it, they sat there. Matt Stafford got sacked 4 times against Buffalo, which is a ton. He got hit a lot. He got hurried. He got knocked down a bunch. So is it that offensive line? Is that offensive line then the cause for the running game's woes? Because this running game is anemic at times. So then does that now translate over into the passing portion of the game? Because you got basically Golden Tate, at least this Sunday, you had Golden Tate and you only had Golden Tate. Eric Ebron, you basically, still it feels like it's a wasted pick. It still does. I know he's got a couple touchdowns, but it still feels like it's a wasted pick because you feel like as for a 10th round pick, he should be producing more. You want to see more. And I just don't feel like you're going to get what you're actually looking for from him. And then you got Calvin who's injured. And Calvin's a totally different player when he's 100% healthy. Calvin's a totally different player when he's 95% healthy. Calvin right now is about 60% healthy. He's not good to go. He's basically rolling around with like a tricycle wheel on his one ankle just so he can stay upright. So I don't know what is so frustrating about this team, but there's a ton of it that is all wrapped up in this offense. And I'm not sure if they're just struggling in these games and they're not putting the points up because it's a new offense and they're trying to learn the playbook and there's kind of those growing pains that go along with learning a new offense. But something's got to give. It's got to connect at some point. You can't lose a game like you lost to Buffalo. Not when the defense goes out there and plays that good. The defense sat there and put up just as many points as you did on offense. You can't lose games like this. You can't do it.
So if Calvin doesn't play this Sunday on the road versus Minnesota, you like our chances? You kind of think that with Calvin, the Lions should roll up into Minnesota and just drop a bomb on them because they're so bad at the quarterback position. And I still think they may do that. But right now, with Calvin Johnson out, it may be a competitive game. Maybe it's really disappointing that we're 3-2 after the start that we had, that we lost that game. And if you just look at the offensive numbers, cuz 19th in first downs, 19th in passer rating, 24th in yards per play, 27th in total rushing yards, 30th in yards per carry, and 31st in sack percentage, meaning that every time Matthew Stafford drops back, he's likely to get sacked. So now, the biggest thing that I see here, total rushing yards. This offensive line has regressed, and if they don't play better, Matthew Stafford might get hurt, and then we're going to be in a whole world of hurt Matthew Stafford needs to be protected, and the offensive line needs to get that push consistently. Reggie Bush can't get any holes for him. Reggie Bush can't run through any holes because there's none established. So basically, Reggie Bush is there to be used in the screen game. But we need a running game. And so Joique Bell was out with the concussion, and we missed him greatly. So the Lions right now are getting bit by the injury bug. And it just stinks because we have the talent in place, and now we're getting the injury bug back in. Whereas in the past, we didn't have maybe as much talent, and we wouldn't play discipline. Now we have the talent at all the key positions, and now we're getting hit by the injury bug. It just seems like whenever the Lions have a chance to prosper, something's going to happen to crash down. Whenever you hear DocNJock praise and spew love for the Lions, you know the next week they're going to crap the bed. Almost guarantee it.
Maybe we just need to be angry all the time.
We should just be angry with them all the time.
And always cussing them out.
Yeah, that's right. And now you never know. I really don't know how to predict this game versus Minnesota. I mean, Asiata could legitimately run for 200 yards on us. I mean, it's not likely. The defense has been playing good.
So. I think that defense is...
But
I think that defense is now our cornerstone.
Yeah,
which is weird because going into the season, it was the offense that was the cornerstone.
Yeah, but now don't you think now the defense is due for a dud?
You would think the way you've been conditioned all your life as a Lions fan is anytime they sit there and they play a team who is horrible, you expect them to blow them out, and you know what they do? They always lay an egg. And you're counting on the defense this week because you've seen it for the last 5 weeks. Hey, defense has been really good. Yeah. Defense is great. And now they go out and they play a very mediocre Minnesota team, and they're probably going to get burned by this Minnesota offense who has a banged-up quarterback, has a guy like Cordarrelle Patterson who you can basically keep off the ball. You keep him off the ball, they don't have anybody down the field who's going to burn you. And then you got a guy like Asiata who, let's be honest, unless you really play fantasy football, you have no idea who he is. You know, I mean, that's the only reason that you know who he is. The only reason I know who he is because we play fantasy like we're junkies. So as far as that Minnesota offense goes, it doesn't terrify you, and it really shouldn't be good. But watch them come out Sunday and hang crooked numbers all over the board. As far as this defense goes, or as far as this offense goes for the Lions, you got talent. You got guys. They need to put it together, and they need to start doing something. You got to convert on third downs. You got to find some semblance of a running game. And I don't necessarily mind if you use the screen game to your advantage and that becomes your running game. That's fine. You've seen it work. It works in New Orleans. New Orleans is not a power run team. You know, they're kind of going towards that a little bit with a guy like Mark Ingram, but they're not necessarily a power run team. They're a kind of throw it out of the backfield type team, get the edge, and then you kind of move the chains that way. If that's what you have to do, then do it. Whatever you have to do to get wins. They could have sat there and they could have won this past week 15-14, and it would have been okay. Because it's all about getting W's. It's not college where you got to win pretty and you got to sit there and you got to blow a team out. You just need to get wins. That's all you have to do.
And just looking, cuz, at the Calvin Johnson situation, do you think maybe he should have rested versus Buffalo? You need him at 100%. And so right now I'm thinking that maybe the Lions training staff is just mismanaging their use of Calvin Johnson. I mean, if he's not, I know he's a warrior and he wants to get on the field, but at the same time, you risk losing him for a longer period of time. And now it's likely he's not going to play versus Minnesota. It's a long season. And if he's nicked up, let him rest. Rest him versus Buffalo. Rest him versus Minnesota. You need him for games down the stretch. You got New Orleans. You got Atlanta. You got Miami. You got the rest of the divisional games. You need him down the stretch. And so early in the season, you've gotten off to a 3-1 start. If he's hurt, don't play him. I just think that he needs to be 100%. And like we said, and you know, I hate to say it, but I'm concerned he's injury prone. I'm not going to call him a porcelain doll because he gets out there and plays, but he's becoming injury prone. And if he's not healthy and this offense is stagnant because of it, then we got to look at doing something different and maybe just resting him for a longer period of time. If he's out there bitching and moaning, so what? Sit until you're 100%. We can get you back on the field and doing the things you got to do.
Let me ask you this question. So, Ndamukong Suh's contract's up at the end of the year, and you kind of seen what he brings to this defense. With him in there, it looks kind of like a monster. I know we're only 5 games in, but 5 games in, that defense looks strong, and it looks like that's the piece that we need to kind of be building around and kind of helping us win games right now. Would you, because you can't have basically 3 $25, $30 million players on your team because it's a salary cap. You just can't do it. Would you look at possibly trading a guy like Calvin Johnson, the best wide receiver in the game, to keep a guy who arguably is the best interior defensive lineman in the game?
That's really thinking outside the box. We haven't been doing things like that with the Lions in a long time, And in the NFL, trades don't happen too often during the season. When this season plays out and we evaluate what Calvin does, if he continues maybe with the drops in key situations, maybe we get into the playoffs and he makes a key mistake, he's an asset. And you have 3 of them. You got Ndamukong Suh, Calvin Johnson, and Matthew Stafford. You know we can't keep all 3. I would consider it. In the NFL, there's no player that's untouchable. I would consider, if he is not productive, if he misses more games this year, I would consider if you could get a first and a second and a starting player. You could get a mega deal for him. I would consider it. It's not something that's outlandish, and some people will be like, oh, that's outlandish. But at the same time, you got to look at it like this. You haven't won much with him. You've only gotten to 1 playoff game with him. You haven't won it. If the right offer is made, you got to look at it. But right now, he's a big piece to the offense. He's the cornerstone. He's the guy that Matthew Stafford likes. I don't think Stafford would be too thrilled if you took his blanket away. You know, he'd be a sad player if you took his security blanket away. So they won't do it. That probably will never happen. He's a guy that is a franchise guy. He's a guy that the Lions are going to want. They'll keep him around till his mid-30s. It's something they should entertain, but unless it's a great knock-him-on-your-ass deal, they won't do it. So you got to kind of live with it. And so that's why I think the way they're handling it needs to be reevaluated, and they need to get Calvin right. Why isn't he right? Why isn't he not healthy? I know he's getting banged up. He's getting hit quite a bit, but he's got to fight through it, and he's got to be healthy. We need him on the field. We need him. And unfortunately, this is a big boy business, as some people would say over there in Ann Arbor. This is a big boy business.
This is a big boy business.
And if you're not producing, we got to look elsewhere.
I always listen to every offer. I'm not saying that I would trade him, but I listen to every offer. And if that deal makes sense to make this team better, you pull that trigger.
Yeah, especially as a competitor, you just wish that the Lions would have blew out Buffalo, because now you kind of knew. I thought Jim Schwartz would flick off the fans, honestly, would walk off the field with his 2 fingers up like Stone Cold, just walk off with 2 middle fingers up in the air and just kind of walk off. But no. What happened Sunday was even worse.
Yeah,
to have your players carry you off the field like you won something. Talks were that he told his players in OTAs, when we beat the Lions, you're going to carry me off the field. But when they do it, you don't do that. You just bring it to yourself.
This just goes back to point to what kind of person Schwartz is. What kind of egomaniac says that when we beat the Lions, you're going to carry me off the field?
Part of me likes it as a competitor, but in this day and age, you don't do that kind of stuff.
It's just...
I like it's brass. He got... Because you have radio stations interviewing players that called him a dick. They booted him out of town. They basically rode him for the whole second half of the year. And so as a competitor, as a man, he came up and was like, bam, bitches, this is what I got for you. He put together a great game plan. It's just one of those things where be a little bit humble. You beat us, fine. You obviously have a talent at defensive coordinator. Be a little bit humble. You were here. We did show you love. We did pay you. We did cut you some checks. We did cheer you when you did good. But to do that, he had every right to. The Lions' job should have been to stop him, but it didn't happen. And that's what made the loss that much worse. Dickhead. Oh, man, cuz. So we're at the point in the show where we do the NFL picks. Last week, we came back to form. We both took a dump. Let's just move on from that. We both got 1 game right.
That was so bad.
We both got 1 pick right. We only got 1 each. The score between Doc and Jock is 11-11, and
it's brutal.
We are going to try to do much better than we did last week. That's for sure. And we're going to kick things off. I like the New England Patriots -3 going into Buffalo. I like Tom Brady in terms of the fact that when people doubt him, I think that he rises to the occasion. And unfortunately for me, he took his venom out on my Bengals defense in fantasy, which cost me -8 in fantasy, which is unheard of. But
which helped me to a victory.
Yes, sir. Congratulations.
Thanks. We're 1-1.
So with my first pick, I like the New England Patriots going into Buffalo -3.
All right, with my pick, my very first, I'm going to go San Diego over the Oakland Raiders. Chargers are on the road. I don't necessarily like the Chargers ever on the road. I prefer them at home. But Oakland looks kind of a little bit of a mess. They got a new coach in there. Tony Sparano's in there. He buried a football the other day. I don't think it's anything different than the first 4 games. I think the Chargers win.
At home, there's very few teams I think that are going to go into Seattle and win. So I like Russell Wilson. He's clutch. I just think that Tony Romo in games like this is prone to mistakes. And in the past, I don't think that he has proven to me that he can consistently rise to the occasion in big games. And that 12th man in Seattle is unreal. So with my second pick, I'm taking Seattle over Dallas.
With my second pick, I've got San Francisco going into the STL and coming out victorious. The Rams are kind of a mess this year. You don't know which way they're going. You have no idea. San Francisco's kind of a mess this year. I just think there's more talent on San Francisco's roster than there is on the Rams roster. I got the 49ers.
And I have it circled here. I put check marks next to my picks. I agree with you. This is the easy layup. San Diego is going to dominate Oakland. I mean, Tony Sparano is an interesting choice at head coach, and he'll get a chance to showcase his abilities, but I just think that San Diego is rolling right now, and I think that Phillip Rivers is turning the page and is trying to become more consistent and trying to lead that team further in the playoffs. And you have to get those wins on the road. It's always tough in Oakland, but I think they go in there and they crush them.
With my third and final pick, I've got the Steelers getting 2 in Cleveland. I think they go to Cleveland. I think they beat up Cleveland. Cleveland has a decent team this year. Don't sleep on them. But I think the Steelers are upset. They haven't looked good the last couple weeks. I think they go, and I think they roll Cleveland.
Okay. Every podcast, we make 3 picks in the regular round, and the Jock forces us to pick the Lions game to keep it interesting. And it's really, really challenging to pick the Lions games because you think they're going to play well, and they lay an egg. But I just think in this situation, this game has nothing to do with the Lions. I think the Vikings are so brutal. Their players' talent just don't match up to ours. And so I think that after a loss, Jim Caldwell will have our team playing well. And I'm going to go on a limb one more time. And with my 4th pick, I got the Lions going to Minnesota and getting the victory.
I'm going to pick the same thing. I'm not going to say much more than that. I got the Lions. Minnesota's brutal. Go Lions.
Go Lions. Please don't make us look bad 2 weeks in a row. Because do you feel better after this therapy session or no? It was a fucking terrible week, wasn't it?
It was a terrible week.
It was just terrible. What the fuck, bro? Do we deserve this? Do we deserve this?
You know what's messed up? It sucks because it's terrible, right? But it makes doing show prep that much easier because you know what you're going to talk about. You know what you have to vent about.
We can just bitch and bitch and bitch.
That's all it is, yeah.
Because what's terrible is all season long, you feel like, okay, are we too hard on the team? Are we overly critical? But no, I mean, when the bullpen stinks, when you hire a first-year manager to take over a World Series team, it's just not, we got excited because they played well for a period of time, and we got excited we got David Price. But I just think that in the future, we just got to temper our excitement when we get that big trade because we got to evaluate it first. And the Tigers basically were the biggest tease of all time, and I don't think they're going to win a championship in the near future. And it's time to kind of reassess what's going on with the Tigers and look at the numbers, look at the money spent, and maybe we need to kind of taper our excitement and become a little bit more critical of the moves made. This offseason is going to be one of the biggest of all time. The direction of the franchise is hanging, and it's going to be imperative that we make the right moves. And the Lions, they're at that critical point. They're 3-2. They have to be 4-2 after this Sunday. They can't go into Minnesota and lay an egg. And if they play well, they should come away with a W, and we can talk about more positive things. And then we're going to shift gears a little bit in future podcasts. We're going to start talking about the Pistons and Wings, and hopefully they're in a different situation. We can get into hockey and basketball and see how the Pistons progress this year under first-year head coach Stan Van Gundy. So I'm excited for future podcasts. I can't wait to do them.
Yeah, Wings Pistons should be interesting. I think you're right. We need to start, as just Tiger fans, we need to start taking a more critical look at what's going on. We can't be blinded by all these big names and all these large contracts. We really have to look at what's going on out there because 4 years in a row, this isn't good. These flameouts are not good. And as far as the Lions go, you're right. It's a critical juncture of the season. I mean, it sounds kind of weird because it's only it's only week 6, and we're already at a critical juncture in the season. It sounds weird, but they need to come away with a victory. They can't be 500 at this point. It's just, all that hard work would be for naught. So the Lions have to come away with a victory.
So with that comes to a close another episode of the Detroit Sports Podcast. Episode 61 has been fun, has been memorable. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Thank you for downloading. Tell all your friends, download the Detroit Sports Podcast.
Go Lions.
Everybody hurts.
He basically pulled his pants down and you're seeing all of his warts. You're like, ooh, that's kind of gross. I don't like a lot of the moves that Ken Daniels did this offseason. You're an idiot. Don't do it again.
Bam, bitches. Dickhead.